Morning, November 10th. Another day. It's interesting because today market is flying high. CPI numbers came in a little bit lower than was expected, but I want to share some things with you. Don't get fooled. Don't be fooled because remember one thing, the Feds, if they see things are starting to get a little bit better, they're going to raise the interest rates even more. So we're expecting another 0.50 basis points here very soon, and you'll watch the market will react to it. It's crazy, Andy, how just a little tiny thing can make the market go sky high like that.
Yeah, it's funny. Yesterday the market's getting slammed, and you get anything that looks like the slightest bit of good news, and people are just, it's like they're ecstatic. It's almost like they're like drug addicts or something.
Remember,
You think that inflation went down to 1% with a market like this, but there's a tiny little tick down. We still have extremely high inflation. If you look over the last 40, 50 years, we're still way near the top, and the market
far from the 2%.
The market
that the
just
Feds want to be on.
overreacts. It's really it's not the kind of steady, mature thinking that you want to base your decisions on when you see that kind of action in the market.
Well, former Fed President Eric Rosengren says that a U.S. recession is quite likely next year, talking about 2023, right? And we've all talked about how 2023 is looking very bad for the economy. And he tells CNBC that interest rates may need to rise to 5.5%, higher than the level expected by investors to take down and tame inflation. And he also said that the unemployment rate would need to be raised at 5 to 5.5%. And a U.S. recession, he said, is quite likely next year. And he says as persistent inflation pressures force the Federal Reserve to shift interest rates higher than expected. Former Boston Federal President Eric Rosen, he said this yesterday. And he also told in this interview, CNBC, he said that the U.S. Central Bank now looked likely to increase its terminal policy rate, the level at which it will stop raising interest rates to more than 5% forecasted by investors, pushing the economy into a downturn in 2023. And he says, I think it's quite likely that the U.S. has a recession next year, is what Rosengren told CNBC's journalists there in London. And they asked to put a figure on the possible terminal rate, and Rosengren said more than 5.5% or more than 5.5% would be my expectation. So this is what I'm talking about. Don't get excited. I mean, a lot of you aren't even in the market because you can't even afford to be in the market. So I understand. And, like I've said before, they entice you to stay in the market. Look at yesterday. It was down almost 700 points. Yeah, today it's down 800. It'll probably end up down around 6 or 7 today. Maybe. I don't know. Nobody has a crystal ball. But I also know what's going on through the nights and the stock index futures, different things like that. You watch. You see the repo and the reverse repo operations where they're literally plowing money into futures and into other type of assets all throughout the night and the day. So, it's a very big gamble, Andy. It's like a casino.
It is. And nobody, like you said, nobody has a crystal ball. Nobody knows where it's going. I remember talking with clients about a year ago before the stock market had started to go down, and they were like, I'm in the stock market. I've been doing so well. And here you have a year where things went really bad for you. And we were warning people, saying, hey, this is a 14-year bull market. This is, the market's on crack cocaine.
Yeah, true.
It's not going to last forever. Everybody knows, parties aren't meant to last. So, the party ends. And we've been warning people about it. And it really looks like now that there's got to be a severe reckoning
Think about it.
Yeah.
Andy, think about this. You know, they talk about 1 month, the numbers, and then all of a sudden in less than 30 days, the numbers are, I just don't understand. First of all, to me, it's an enticement, I believe. And let me tell you something, even as the CPI report shows signs of a small slowdown, prices still remain high, elevated, and have a long way to go before normalizing. That's according to Mike Lowergart, which is head of a portfolio construction at Morgan Stanley Global Finance Office. And inflation slowing to its lowest annual rate since January is news that both the Fed and investors can get behind, is what he said. He said the Fed was adamant that it won't hit the brakes on the rate hike until inflation slows. Remember, they say they want to get it down to that 2%. And while the market's rally indicates investors may see light at the end of the tunnel, it will get one more reading before its decision next month. So, you know, that opens up big, you know, expecting that everything is back to normal. But let me tell you something, those of you that go to the grocery store, things aren't back to normal. And in fact,
I mean, look at the turkey prices for Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah.
Ridiculous.
I mean, look, with prices rising, let me share this with you, Andy. You know, when you look at with how prices are rising and real wages are falling, many Americans struggling are making ends meet right now. And I was watching like this food, like where they're like, these food banks are giving out more and more and more and more food.
Yeah.
And I saw 99-cent store I saw something on the news last night. But what they're doing is they're increasingly turning to credit cards. People are turning to credit cards. I heard that credit card debt is beyond crazy right now. Mm-hmm. And other debt to fill the gap that they need. But what that does is that creates other problems. Yeah. Right? And debt has to be repaid. And a growing number of Americans right now are struggling to keep up with their payments, right? Definitely. And I'll tell you something that's really bad right now, and this is a sign of something's going on, is auto loan delinquencies. Auto loan delinquencies have risen to the highest it's ever been in over 10 years, according to TransUnion. And TransUnion tracks more than 81 million auto loans in the United States, according to Consumer Credit Reporting Agency. That is 1.65% of auto loans were at least 60 days delinquent in the third quarter. And that's the highest rate for 60-day plus delinquency in more than a decade. And TransUnion Senior Vice President told CNBC inflation was making it difficult for people to keep up with their car payments. So, okay.
That's a really good indicator because that's an everyday kind of thing.
That's what I'm saying.
That's like real facts on the ground. People can't pay their car loans.
Yeah.
Right? And now you got 11,000 people who are getting fired from Facebook who are going to have problems with their car loans. You know, that's you know, and you had Twitter, they got rid of 3,500 people. You're starting to see some pretty massive layoffs, and I think things like that they're only going to make it worse with inflation being what it is. And these are the kind of real statistics that matter.
And I'm going to give you some more.
Can you pay your car loan? Yeah. Right? That's what matters.
Look, this guy, the senior vice president, he says consumers still want to stay current as best as they can. It's just the inflationary environment that's making it challenging. Inflationary environment, and it leaves fewer dollars in their pocket to make the auto loan payment because they've got to pay more for the milk and the eggs and other things. So unsurprisingly, subprime borrowers now, they're having the most difficult time keeping up with their payments. So with loan accommodation programs and implemented during this pandemic, some borrowers managed to avoid delinquencies. And as those programs have ended now, delinquencies have literally spiked. And there's merchants that told CNBC that these programs pushed some delinquencies into the future. And according to TransUnion, 200,000, Andy, borrowers who took advantage of the pandemic era auto loan accommodation programs are now listed 60 days delinquent. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Right? It's just a Band-Aid. Everything, it's a Band-Aid. Look, anytime you're dealing with debt, like the stock market and all these things, they've got to be paid back. You got to pay back debt. You may get a loan, but let me tell you something. You have to pay it back or lose everything. So this is what Merchant told CNBC, that the rise in unemployment would create a bigger jump in auto loan delinquencies, just like you said with Facebook laying off how many? 11,000?
11,000 people.
That's a lot of people. Right? That's a lot of people. Here's what the Merchant said. If we get into a position where employment starts to be a challenge in the United States and unemployment increases, that is when the industry will start to be concerned about a consumer's ability to pay their auto loans. And the Federal Reserve actually blew up an auto bubble with years of artificially low interest rates after the 2008 financial crisis. And the air was coming out of that bubble. Remember, we talked about that yesterday. I said they blow it up, and then once they take their lips off that balloon, the balloon deflates. Well, that's exactly what they're talking about here, is that they're deflating the bubble. They're taking the air out of that bubble as the Fed tightens its interest rates in 2018, tightened them back in 2018. And the Fed pivot in 2019 and then returned to 0% interest rates during the pandemic, gave pumped air into the deflating bubble. But with the Fed now tightening their monetary policies once again, the air now seems to be what? Coming out of the balloon.
Yeah, I mean, it's not complicated. You raise interest rates higher and higher. It's going to get more and more expensive to borrow money. The car loans are going to get more and more expensive. Payments are going to get more and more expensive. People are losing their job. They're going to be less likely to be taking out loans, and then you start to have that downward spiral, which looks like that recession you're talking about coming up probably, sometime by early 2023.
Well, Andy,
deepening, because I think we're already there.
No, you're right. Yeah. And this is another example of how the combination of inflation, rising interest rates, and a deteriorating economy is negatively impacting average Americans as we see it. And we see the same dynamics popping up in other sectors, including housing. Remember, housing, it's just getting started. That bubble is just about to pop.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what I'm talking about. So we see these dynamics in other sectors like housing. And what that does is this flashes warning signals that things in the economy could deteriorate very quickly in the near future as the deterioration compounds and it actually snowballs. And for now, American consumers are literally managing to limp along by using what? Credit cards. Credit and savings accumulated during the pandemic. But now savings are quickly being depleted and the debt has limits. Got to pay back that debt.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have an unlimited, as ordinary citizens, we don't have an unlimited supply of money that we can just print like the government. So our credit runs out at a certain point. They shut off the spigot at a certain point, and that's it. So we don't have unlimited funds. We have to deal with reality, unlike the government.
Exactly. And this, I'll tell you something, enjoy the ride today, because tomorrow, who knows? That's what I'm telling you. Andy, we have a very volatile market right now.
Extremely.
The only thing that I have seen that's doing really, really well are precious metals. We're up $40-something again today.
Yeah, we see gold going over $1,750 today.
And I'll tell
you,
really
strong move.
Let me point out something to you, Andy, that really makes sense. and it should make sense to those viewers that are watching this video right now. I've always said that if digital air can go up to $60,000 an ounce, where now I think it's at 15 or 16.
That's back at 17 something.
Whatever.
That little bounce.
All right. So I saw it was down to 15 though. But what can something real become worth? Well, if the market is doing well, gold is doing well, the CPI went down a little bit, but yet your digital currency isn't going up. What does that tell you? And what does it tell you when you've got somebody like this FX who's now looking like he could go to prison, Guantanamo or something for the rest of his life? I mean, it looks like the Bitcoin market or the digital currency market is about to really crash and crash hard.
Yeah, it's been crashing, and you have a lot more. You have a lot of still shady activity in crypto that's being flushed out. You had this FTX, this Sam Bankman-Fried. He was a major. He owned FTX, the third largest crypto trading company, trading platform, and now it looks like they're pretty much done. And he was a big force behind Solana, so that's going to be in quite a lot of trouble. So the crypto space is still it's very, very young. I think it does have great potential, but right now it's still very risky, and you're still flushing out a lot of these kind of unsubstantial, shady kind of coins and firms like that, because it's still so new. We don't know exactly what place it's going to hold in the future in the economy. So it's super risky, and if you're looking for something that kind of the opposite end of the spectrum is gold and silver, which has been around for 5,000 years. It's been proven in every society, been money in every society. It's still here today. It still silver has incredible uses that they're even discovering more and more uses for new technology in silver.
Yeah.
So I think we're really heading into a silver age. I think silver is really going to shine in the next year, 18 months, 2-year period. We're going to see some great moves in silver. And the time, as we always stress, the time is really to invest when things are calm. The waters are calm, right? You're laying on the beach, the water's calm. Invest now. Don't wait till all of a sudden there's a mad rush and everybody in your neighbor is like, hey, did you buy silver? Did you buy silver? Did you get it? And you're like, no, I didn't. I was waiting on the sidelines for the perfect price. Don't be that person. We have that client. We talk to those clients, and they never get any skin in the game. They're always sitting on the sidelines because they're too afraid they're going to lose $5 or $10. When silver's up at $100, $150, are you going to worry? You got it. You didn't get it at $21.40, and now it's at $21.60. Come on, that's not wise.
That's right. Look, absolutely. And this cooling off this inflation, this little teeny bit that went down today, is definitely a show of relief. However, don't expect it to stick around long, because it's unlikely that the Federal Reserve will be diverted from its rate hiking path, even if it slows the pace in December. So it's been a recipe, as I say, for disappointment to get bullish ahead of the CPI reports this year. And despite the various positive signals, the one thing that
does show, one thing that does show it shows how desperate the people in the stock market are.
Yeah, really.
They just we're so desperate for things to go back to how they were when the market was going up every year, 20 to 30%. It's like, it just shows me, they're grasping onto anything to keep their money, and there's so much pension fund money in there, and people are just. It shows desperation to me. What it does. It doesn't show confidence. It doesn't show conviction. It doesn't show strength that you really believe in these assets.
No, I enjoy seeing it go up, right? I do enjoy seeing the market go up for people. But however, I also know that it goes down. So enough of the market. I just want you all to know, be very careful. This is why you diversify. This is why you diversify. You give us a call at 800-753-8534, 800-753-8534, or even give me a call direct. I had a lady call me yesterday direct, did like a lot. But any 323-380-22 5485-323-380-5485. Was a really good day. A lot of people called in wanting to protect their assets. Diversify, diversify, diversify. That's all I can tell you. As far as the inflation, check your bank account, check your pocket, go check your gas. It's crazy out there. Food in the grocery store prices are high. So enough of inflation for now. Want to cover some other things. There is Rand Paul.
Hey.
Have you heard what Rand Paul said?
No, I didn't.
Okay. So he won. Yeah, he had this decisive victory.
Yeah, very easily.
So he's got his third term, and he is the Kentucky senator. And first thing he said, and I was like, yeah, go Rand Paul. First thing he said is he promised to end the COVID cover-up by forcing Mr. Anthony Fauci into court. That was the first thing. I knew you'd like that. But listen, Paul told his supporters that he intends to focus on uncovering the evidence for COVID emerging from a lab and whether it was manipulated with funding from Fauci's NIH program. And he says, thanks for coming out to Dr. Fauci's retirement party is what Paul said. He joked about it, of course. Wow. He was joking. He says, but I promise you this, the COVID cover-up will end. And the senator urged, adding, I will not only hold Dr. Fauci accountable, but we will finally investigate why your tax dollars, our tax dollars, were sent to fund dangerous research in Wuhan. This is what Rand Paul said. You've always said,
Yeah, I think it's great. Rand Paul he's held Fauci up to the fire in a number of appearances in front of the Senate, and I hope he continues to do that. God bless him. He's doing great work. He's the only one who's really leading this. We know almost 3 years later, that most of the evidence really points to the fact that this was developed in a lab. It was human. It was manipulated. They know by the sequence of the genetic code is not something that follows a natural path of mutation. So there's no argument pretty much for any other origin from that. And he's the only one who's really been putting that forward. And Fauci needs to be held accountable. He needs to be held accountable, and I applaud Rand Paul. He got
in his face.
He's been a great leader, and
he ruffled Fauci's feathers.
Yeah, and we need to get to the truth of this, and I think he's the only one willing to actually do that.
I'll tell you something else we need to get to the truth of, Andy. This is some news that came out. I was shocked. Again, it was like, I was shocked to the core, almost fell off my chair when I heard that this morning. So if you all recall, there was a CEO. His name is Eugene Yu. He is Konak CEO, and he was arrested back in early October in Michigan in connection with the theft of personal data. Well, the alleged stolen data belonged to poll workers and was the subject of the show True the Vote. All right, we've heard about that. They're the ones that got released Sunday.
Right.
But True the Vote, and that was the pit in Arizona last August where Catherine Engelbrecht and Greg Phillips actually singled out that particular company. And during the PIT conference, Phillips and Engelbrecht alleged that they were cooperating with the FBI in Michigan about data that was being sent overseas by this company that you was running, right? The CEO. And the investigation quickly started to turn on them after the FBI started to distance itself from the investigation. So the FBI started pulling away from this investigation. Well, it goes on. There was a journalist who had been covering this company, and he researched them better than anyone. And it goes and says that the theft of the data only impacted the election workers. That's what alleges to the Los Angeles District Attorney, George Gascon, our attorneys here in Los Angeles, our DA here in Los Angeles. And the Los Angeles DA then seized, and this was in direction of Attorney George Gascon, they seized these hard drives and other digital evidence from the Michigan software firm with the assistance of the township police in Michigan, Meridian Township. And the LADA, the district attorney now, was seeking Yu's extradition to Los Angeles. So it sounded pretty serious. When I was, following the story, it was pretty serious. Well, according to Jennifer Van Leer, a Red State Chinese official with a super administrator privileges, they were given access to this Koenig system here in the United States. Well, the Los Angeles County DA this morning dropped criminal charges against the top executive of an elections technology company on Wednesday, bringing to the end an abrupt end and an unusual case that became the focus of Americans who distrusted the county's election system, the country's election system.
Sounds awfully suspicious to me. Awfully fishy.
Well, here's what he says. I'm reading it right now. The district attorney's office said in a statement that it has now dropped the case against the executive, Eugene Yu, because of concerns about the pace of investigation and the potential bias in the presentation of evidence in the case. And the office said that the county had assembled a new term to determine whether any criminal activity occurred. And the prosecutor did not respond to questions about the decision. So nobody would, they were trying to ask him and he wouldn't respond to anything. But that's Gascon, they're like that. Mr. Yu's attorney said he's an innocent man. In a statement adding that conspiracy theorists were using the arrest to further their political agenda. So last month, Los Angeles prosecutors accused Mr. Yu, the chief executive of Koenig, a small election software company in Michigan, of storing data about poll workers on servers in China, which was a breach of the company's contract with the country. And the charges related only to poll workers' data and had no impact on votes or election results. But it's interesting, Andy, that it looks so serious, and now we find out this morning that these charges have been dropped.
Yeah, strange timing right after the election. Very strange timing. I don't think our elections, we shouldn't have any even possibility that something could be Wi-Fi to China, or somehow they could elect votes or any kind of election information is being sent electronically anywhere. It should be such a simple process. And I don't, George Gascon is really, he's a disaster in so many ways for LA.
It blows my mind, Andy, that we have these sophisticated, expensive election machines.
They don't even work.
And it's taken, now they're saying it could be until Christmas on some of these.
I know.
Come on. Believe me, Herschel Walker and what's his name, the other guy? Warnock. That'll probably go till Christmas because remember the runoff
is December. Runoff, yeah.
That's December, but they could run past Christmas time.
Yeah.
So
look at Arizona, for heaven's sake, look at Arizona.
Oh my gosh.
They still have over 600,000 votes to count. Here we are. The election was we've had a full day and a night of counting, and they still have over 600,000 votes they haven't counted. That's pathetic.
Yeah.
A state like Florida's done, and Florida has probably the population is probably 4 or 5 times what Arizona is. You have these incompetent people. The tabulators didn't work for these electronic machines. People had to stand in lines, of course, mostly in conservative areas. But This is pathetic. This is just, and this is what the Democrats love.
Carrie Lake was on
love
Tucker last night.
They love this. This is exactly what they love. That there's chaos, and they get to move ballots around, and they get to count it here, and they get to send it over there. They're in heaven with this stuff.
Crazy. You know, Carrie Lake was on Tucker last night, and she was saying that she's going to win.
Yeah, I mean, I think Carrie Lake's going to win, and if she doesn't, I would be very suspicious of what goes on there with that Maricopa County. It's always Maricopa County.
Not just Maricopa. I mean,
know, but all the problems are always there. It's always Maricopa County. Something goes wrong with the machine or this or that or counting or I just it's so absurd.
Hey, we have a now in Minnesota House seat that was in a landslide victory. You have a transgender Democrat now.
Where is that?
In Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
And so it's like it looks like they're getting into politics now too. Anyway, but but yeah, she went on Carrie Lake. Carrie Lake went on Tucker last night, and she's like, I'm not worried about it. She's going to end up winning. But I'll tell you something that was shocking to me. So there was this MSNBC host last night, and they were literally floating that John Fetterman as a presidential candidate. I'm not kidding you.
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
Well, I guess he follows in the tradition of Biden, of a guy who can't string together a coherent sentence. So
he and then you've got New York where they're telling Hochul to do something about soaring crime. I don't understand how she even won.
Well, the
Lee Zeldin.
I
mean, come on. Look at Lee Zeldin shooting in the front of his house.
Yeah.
Somebody tried to kill him.
Exactly. But one of the takeaways from that is New York, we know, is a super liberal state, and the margin of victory was very small. Zeldin got something like 47%, over 47%.
Yeah.
So that's pretty considerable, and it's hard to overturn when you have that strong of a liberal population there, like we have here in California. Same thing, but it does kind of show me that the tide is turning, and states can change. Look at Florida when DeSantis was elected governor the first time. He only won by, I think it was 2 points. It was very close. And this time he won almost by 20. So states do change, and states change for reasons when people feel like the politicians are ignoring them and things are getting worse, then so things can change. So that's a good sign. I think Zeldin is going to be a very popular leader in the next 10 years.
That's good. That's good to hear. Next week, his administration is saying on Biden that Biden is expected to bring up to Xi, because he's meeting with Xi, right? Because he's doing one of these G20 summits. Anyway, he's expected to bring up. I want to get your views on this. He's expected to bring up Chinese economic practices. And Taiwan and Russians' war in Ukraine. In other words, he's going to ask him, why are you defending Russia? What do you think can happen with that? Biden's going to do that.
Yeah, boy, I'm sure she is quaking in his boots there at Biden confronting him. We know Biden's just he's just a puppet. We know he has no decision making power in the government. So I don't think they're going to take him seriously. It's just a gesture political gesture. I guess he feels like he has to make to show that he's strong.
Yeah. Hey, I want to share something. Go back to gold and to the dollar. The reason our gold prices are going up, is because the dollar is actually going down. And we showed you a glimpse yesterday of what a digital currency, a central bank digital currency card looks like. And if you notice, the the China is starting to sell off treasuries. In fact, look at the treasury today. Treasuries are way down today too, way down. So the treasuries are down, the dollar's going down, meaning that, like I said, don't be surprised if we wake up in the morning and the bottom drops out of the dollar, and it happens over in Asia, where that's where the most of our creditors are. And that's where I still say, and I hold strong to it, that's where our mass exodus is going to come out of, it's going to come out of Asia. And that's why you want to have gold and silver, so you have something to fall back onto. Remember, I'm always one to tell you it's not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's a way for you to protect what it is that you're protecting, and you can always exchange it for more value later on. I've got gold that I bought at $300 and some an ounce years ago, and now it's upwards to $1,800, and it will continue to go up. We'll start seeing this more and more, because as the dollar gets weaker and weaker, gold prices go up, right? It's a hedge against inflation, and now the true numbers are starting to come up because of the dollar finally breaking down. And that's what they've been doing. They've been rallying this dollar, using it as a weapon. But guess what? Countries are tired of being bullied by the weaponization of the U.S. dollar. Tonight I'm going to be, Andy, it's tonight at 9 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 11 o'clock Central Standard Time, and midnight Eastern Standard Time. It's just my voice. I don't have to be on camera. It's hard for me to be on camera. I'm not used to this. My voice is the only thing that's usually heard.
Yeah.
So this is kind of different for me. But I'll be on groundzero.org. Let me say it again, groundzero.org, 9 o'clock Pacific Time, 11 o'clock Central Standard Time, and midnight Eastern, with my good friend Clyde Lewis. And we're going to be going over a lot of what we've been talking about, plus some other new and interesting, fun things that Clyde and I are going to do together. I mentioned a really hard brain.
Oh, I forgot it. I totally forgot it.
Teaser for you last night.
I didn't even think about it.
So
I forgot what it was.
And nobody seemed to have gotten it.
What is it? Oh, it's the B one, right?
Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah.
B in my hand. What's in my eye?
So.
Was it?
Yeah. So let me explain it again. So if I'm holding the B, what do I have in my eye? This is really a tough one.
I'm holding a B. What do I have? I think it has to do with the letter B.
No. All right, so let me give you the answer. So the explanation, the riddle, is a play on the proverb this time. I fooled you this time. Instead of the letter. You were trying to go by the letter and the
B, because B, and then I thought I. I thought it was.
So if it's a riddle that is a play on the proverb, teacher, what does that mean? Andy, by the way, is teacher.
If I'm holding a B, oh, I don't know the proverb that this refers
Beauty
to.
is in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
and in this case, you are the beholder. Thus, the beauty is in your eye.
Very clever.
Very clever. That was a good one. Hey, listen.
Yeah.
Also, subscribe to our channel. It's free. Subscribe to the channel. I cannot wait, Andy. They start construction next door so that we can move into our new living room setup. It's going to be pretty cool. I was talking to our designer yesterday, and I was like, I got to go out and get furniture and all this. You can make it look like you're sitting in a living room with the screen. So we're getting this thing, not a green screen, but we're getting like a huge LED wall display, which is like a massive computer on the wall that we can move around, do things.
That's
so
cool.
yeah, I mean, if we want to go outside and film, we can do filming outside. It's going to be great. All right. And all you have to do is go to UGG TV, UGG space TV, daily news. Just put UGG TV and you can find us real easy now. We're all over the place. More and more videos, our homeschool videos. I can remember we didn't even have sound. Lights weren't working. Robert said it's a ghost. By the way, Robert will be back on Monday. He's in Hawaii.
Hey, Robert.
Yeah, Robert, if you can
Enjoying
hear us,
himself now. Yeah.
enjoy yourself in Honolulu. Where is he? Waikiki. He says they have a nice resort.
Yeah, beautiful resort. He's living it up. It's his birthday tomorrow, so we give him today's his son's birthday.
Right.
Happy birthday, Hendrix.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow, happy birthday, Rob.
Yeah, we'll have a party for him when he gets back. We have a party for everyone, but all right, you ready for the next one?
All right.
So an old man dies, leaving behind 2 sons. Now, if y'all get this, write in. So an old man dies, leaving behind 2 sons. In his will, he orders his sons to race with the horses. All right. And the one with the slower horse, we already did this one.
We did that one.
Ah,
that was the chic one.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Turn me on my side, and I'm everything. Cut me in half, and I'm nothing. What am I?
Turn me on my side, and I'm everything?
Turn me on my side, and I'm everything. Cut me in half, and I'm nothing. What am I? Oh, this is a hard one.
I got to think about it.
You should. Yeah, this is a tough one. This is a good one. No, this is a toughie.
Turn me on my side.
Turn me on my side, all right? And I'm everything. Cut me in half, and I'm nothing. What am I? That's okay. Tomorrow we'll give you the answer. Listen, thank you for tuning in. Tell your friends about UGG TV. And God bless every single one of you. Be safe, and we'll see you tomorrow.